So Rachel, I've noticed on LinkedIn your videos. I think it was a recent one. It was I'm gonna let it shine.
Oh yeah.
That was really good. So one of the things you're actually practicing what you're preaching because singing is already, I mean, you're at a vulnerable spot doing it. It's a very vulnerable thing to do.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean. You're practicing what you're preaching because you're actually doing it. And I've been noticing one, you're getting a ton of engagement with your videos, is genuine, and I love it. Brings a ton of positivity, a ton of engagement. And I've also noticed that you have a pretty good following as well on LinkedIn. Did you do anything like LinkedIn ads or any type of strategy to
Hmm.
build your following? Because I know for a lot of marketers, they're always looking on how to increase their engagement, how to
Yeah.
get more followers, whether it's on a company page or their own LinkedIn profile.
Yeah. So a couple things. I started my LinkedIn page in 2007, and then I posted my first article in 2015. And so my first foray into sharing content was me writing articles. And the first
LinkedIn
article,
articles.
LinkedIn articles.
Wow.
Mhm. Because I was told that, like, hey, if you post native content through LinkedIn, it likes it better than when you take something from another site because LinkedIn wants you to stay on the platform.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for instance, whenever I upload a video, I don't share a YouTube link, I share the native file. Because again, that's what, one of the things that LinkedIn likes. It's like,
Right.
stay here, don't go anywhere else.
Right.
And so there's people that I've been following for some time. So like Mark Metry, I've followed him for several years, and I've done some one-on-one like coaching with him, and he has like a LinkedIn unlocking LinkedIn like an online program that I've gone through some of. I haven't gone through the whole thing, but I've gone through some of it. And then Shay Rowbottom and Jonathan Palmer, who are like huge on the platform. They have a video boot camp program. So if anyone wants to know about that, send me a DM. Happy to share some insights. And so they take people through, some coaching around the video stuff. But I started doing videos. I had a blog from 2014 to, when did I do that? 2019, about 5 years. Mm-hmm. And I would post videos on my Facebook page. So I gave myself this challenge in like 2015 or 2016 where I would do 2 videos a week on my Facebook page. So, and they were terrible. I like wasn't smiling. I didn't look very excited. I looked scared most of the time. I had like, my shoulders were hunched. I had no energy. I mean, I look back at these videos, I'm like, oh goodness. But it was a rep. They're terrible. Everyone has those moments where you're like, oh, cringe. Can we delete that? But like I was practice. It was reps. I was practicing reps. And I think the articles helped me do is convey thought leadership. And I would do things like I would go to a conference, and then I'm naturally a dot connector. And so I'd go to a conference and I would sit in on the sessions and take different notes and pull out key themes and takeaways. And then I would go on LinkedIn, and then I would started doing that in probably 2017. And I'd post the article and I would tag all the different people like in the post that, heard this great session from so-and-so. And at this one, I learned about this. And so then you suddenly have more eyeballs on your post because all those people at the time had bigger, and a lot of them had bigger followings than I did.
Yeah.
And so one of the most effective ways to engage is to genuinely engage with other people's content. Not just like, great job, thanks, great post. That's kind of, you can tell that someone didn't actually pay attention to it, and they are just going through the motions kind of thing. So for me, it was like really a matter of value. Like people follow things that give them value. Quentin Allums, Allums, he was one of the first video creators on LinkedIn. And I recently, very, very recently, like in the past week, just started working with him as a coach, because he is really excellent at what he does. And so if you just want any insights on LinkedIn and video and that kind of stuff, and he's super genuine. He's a really great person to follow. And he talks about what are the things that you notice? Like, think about what you pay attention to. Like, what are the things that you notice that you stop for on a scroll? What do you stop for?
I would say images. And those, maybe any type of content that's going to bring me value, inspirational type content,
Mhm. Yeah. So that is like
Insightful.
insightful. Yeah.
Those are
It was
keywords.
inspirational, insightful,
Valuable.
valuable, grabs your attention. So it's like whenever you post content, am I doing these things and what I'm sharing? Because, and often you're going to get way more, and John Palmer and Shay talk about this a lot. You're going to get way more engagement if you post something on a personal page than you post on a company page. They compared like Richard
100.
Branson, like the number of followers he has compared to the number of followers Virgin has. It's like not even an apple to an orange. I mean, it's so sharing on your personal page. And for me, I had a very slow and kind of steady build. And then when I went out on my own,
Mhm.
and then I could just say whatever I wanted. And I didn't have to like do
Unmuted.
that. I was unmuted. Hello. And I came out and I was like, my company's called Unmuted. And then like, you know, a few months later, I'm singing This Little Light of Mine in videos. And, you know, I'm also a professional speaker. So it comes naturally and easily to me to be on video talking to people because this is what I do for a living. And I don't have, like most people don't post video content because they like hate how they look on video. They think they sound weird. I have heard myself talk so many times that like, that like doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
So it's just enough reps. And then for me, video works. Video doesn't work for everybody. If you don't have like some type of engaging nature to the way that you talk, like video might not be your thing. Text post might be the thing that you want to do, or sharing some type of thought leadership, but sharing your original thought leadership, or doing polls are really big right now, doing polls.
Right.
But you know, I would say it hasn't been one thing. It's been a combination. It's been a combination of things, but the most important thing for me has been consistency. Like I have been posting pretty consistently on LinkedIn for like 6 years, 7 years.
Is
And
it daily or just Monday through Friday or twice a week?
I'd say in terms of number of posts a week, there's also it varies, but I post almost every day. And I have a lot to share. I mean, there's, you know, and I vary it.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, literally what you can do for any Zoom meeting or any type of video that, or even team meetings or anything. I mean, just hit the record button and then chop it up and post it.
Right.
Would you say the most effective form of post on LinkedIn is video?
No, not for everybody.
Not for everybody.
Not for everybody. Sliders are really big. Sliders.
That one I've seen a lot of.
Document sliders get a lot.
I have seen Shay Rowbottom in my feed. And so when you mentioned her, and Jonathan Palmer too, shout out to Jonathan. I like his quick videos. They're like cut. I'm like, boom, boom,
oh
boom,
yeah,
boom.
they're big on the cut video.
They're a lot of video cuts. So that's also very attention grabbing. And
yeah,
so you did go through the boot camp, is what you mentioned.
I've signed up. I'm in it. And I've gone through some of the, in full transparency.
Yeah, you're currently in it.
I'm currently in it, but there were some people, a lot of people coming to that program have never posted a video ever. And like, I've posted hundreds of, I mean, you know, but I just always want to learn. I'm like, what is something new I could learn? What is something about this approach that I could do differently? You know, how can I be more succinct? Like Quentin's trying to get me on TikTok. And so you got to do 1 minute videos. You got to be like really succinct.
Shay's trying to get you on TikTok.
Quentin is.
Quentin
Allens. Yeah.
I was like, Shay, wow. So, I mean, I'm not trying to spill the beans on her boot camp and stuff like that, because you got to go through it to experience it. But has there been anything that's like clearly obvious where you're like, wow, I didn't do that when I was doing it on my own?
Just hiring somebody to edit. Like I would edit all my own stuff. And I was like, I'm not a video editor. Like there's a book.
Consuming. Yeah.
It's time consuming. And there's people that will do it, that enjoy doing it, that do it much quicker than I do with much more creativity. And like, I can paint the vision. Like, here's what I want the video to be about. I'll paint the vision. I'll send the base file and then send some images and pictures and stuff to use. And then otherwise, you know, let somebody else. There's a book I love called Who Not How by Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy. This is a book. I have a bookshelf next to me so I can pull stuff off all the time. And the focus is really, okay, instead of you asking yourself, how do I do this? How do I do this? Find people that are doing the thing you want to do well.
Yeah.
Learn from them.
Right.
Like So that's what I've learned from Mark. I've learned from Quentin. I've learned from Shay. I've learned from Jonathan. I've learned from so many other people too. But I love learning. I'm so motivated to learn, and I'm energized by learning. And so I don't ever think I have anything figured out. I am just perpetually open to discovering how I could do something better or differently. And I think just having that attitude is like the followers have come as I've been more authentic and consistent and honest and service oriented, as opposed to like telling about what I do. There's people I guarantee that have no idea what I actually do for a job, which I could do a better job of enhancing that. And I'm going to be doing a better job of enhancing that aspect of how I communicate on there. But they're drawn to me, and people buy from people they know, like, and trust. And so,
yeah, humans buy from humans, and they don't question your personality because they pretty much feel like they know you already. Even if they don't know what you do for work.
They say that. I feel like I know you. I'm like, okay, you don't, but I'm glad that you feel that warmth. It's a warmth. Like, I feel like I can
we'll send you a DM. Hey, best friend, how are you?
Right. And I'm like, well, I've got some of those, but I'm all good here. But like, even this conversation, like, you can see me in a video and then I could show up here and be a totally different person. But hopefully you've seen alignment of like, oh, that's like literally the same person I just saw in that video.
Yeah. No,
so anyway.
Totally. It makes it more, you increase the trust factor. At the same time, it's almost like they are shopping around. It's just a matter of when the need is going to be met. So for me, whenever I'm seeing, I'm kind of like, I'm also really just shopping around. So if I'm seeing in your feed, like, for example, that would be, and the need is there, I'm like, I'm going to reach out to Rachel. I'm going to send her a DM.
Right.
Because I feel like you're constantly in my feed. You're top of mind. That's literally why I would. And people have reached out to me like, hey, I saw your video. I'm like, okay, internet creeper. No, I'm kidding. But I do tell them like, oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And they'll tell me about a video from like 3 months ago. Yeah. And I'm like, wow, that is crazy. So you've been following me for how long? Like, but it's cool because I'm like, it's stuck with them and I'm in their feed the whole time. That's really good to know. And it's all about experimenting and see what works for you. Cause you're right. Video is not always for everyone.
No, it's not. And if you don't have much, if you don't have I have a pretty dynamic personality. And so I can do it without doing the cuts. But if you don't, and if you struggle with that more, a cut video could generate energy that someone may not naturally have. But for me, and I tried it, I'm like, let me try a cut video. And then I'm like, it's been suggested to me that maybe I don't need to do that. Because I speak for a living, so I can tell stories and I can create the breaks when it makes sense to put the breaks in and put the pauses and the beats and all of that. Like, I know how to do that. Right. But to your point, it's staying front of mind. It's like, I'm in front of people constantly, and we don't always know. Here's the thing. We don't always know how we're affecting other people because people don't always tell us. And so just because someone isn't telling you that just because someone isn't, initiating with you to tell you, oh my gosh, this thing you shared was so powerful. I know there's people that are doing that. And I'm just sharing what feels genuine and meaningful and relevant to me in the moment that I've recognized is a shared human experience. That's what I'm often speaking from a place of shared humanity. And so people see themselves in what I'm sharing, and they feel a sense of connection, and being understood and being seen and being validated. And that's often a motivation.
They relate with that. They relate with that stuff. That's awesome.
Relatable. Exactly.
Yeah, it's very relatable. That helps. Yeah, that helps a lot, because I know a lot of marketers are always looking for ways to increase their engagement, their followers. And you're right. A lot of them focus on the company pages because they're working for companies, but the personal, LinkedIn profile is the one that's going to get you the most. So,
it is. People buy from people. Yeah,
exactly. Anyways, this was great.